recall, rather than both of the arteries coming off different ventricles, both of his arteries came off the same ventricle and were flipped around. So pulmonary artery came off here. Aorta was about half the size of the pulmonary artery, came off all the way over here. All right, and his aorta came up and was interrupted. Right, so what we did as his surgery is we kind of put these two together and put his aorta back together. So something like that. Okay. All right. And to get blood out to the lungs, we did what's called a shunt. So a little piece of synthetic tubing. So if we trace how his blood circulates, the blue blood comes back, comes in here, and really goes out both of these openings. Back out here, and some of it goes to the body, of course. Some of it goes down this shunt. Okay? The blood that goes down the shunt is going to go to the lungs, get oxygen. So red blood is still coming back. So we have to label these right and left ventricles. So right ventricle, left ventricle. Right? Comes back, comes into this left ventricle. The left ventricle doesn't have an artery off of it. And so that red blood is squirting through this hole, coming over here, and it can similarly go out both of those. So he's got really all of his blue and red blood mixing together, going out through this right ventricle, going out to the body, going out through the lungs. So he's got what we call complete mixing, all right, until tomorrow, all right? So what we're going to do tomorrow is, I can't make this look like this. I mean, I can't take an aorta, disconnect it, and plug it in over the left ventricle. But we can separate the blue and red blood, and then, of course, we're not going to be dealing with saturations in the 60s and 70s. So how do we do this? I'm going to get on the inside of the heart, and I probably drew a picture of this in the past, but if I did, I'm going to sew a patch on the inside of the heart. Right? I'll see how it looks. Most commonly, I do the patch like this. Although it maybe not look that much further to you, drawing a patch that goes all the way over here, that's a long, long way. All right, so I'm going to do a patch on the inside of the heart that does that. So, and then I'm going to do a separate patch that's under here. All right, let me show you what the patch looks like. It's a synthetic material called Dacron. So it feels like a piece of felt, but it's strong, it's very durable, it's completely non-reactive, it won't dissolve and go away, but what will happen is his heart tissue will grow in over it and literally incorporate it right into his heart. So the patch I put in tomorrow is going to last him the rest of his life. We don't have to go back and put in a bigger one when he's, 3 times the size he is now. All right? So by putting that patch in place, or those 2 patches in place, it really blocks anywhere blue blood can't get out that way anymore, all right? Red blood can. Red blood will go through this hole, all right, and go out to the body, all right? Now, what are we going to do about the blue blood? Well, the blue blood, we're going to have to put in something that we would call a homograft. I'll give you an idea of what that looks like. Homograft or Contegra. Those are really functionally the same thing. A homograft comes from a human being, all right? It's human tissue. People have donated their bodies to science. Companies take their tissues, in this case an artery with a valve in it. They cut it out of the body, treat it with antibiotics, deep freeze it, and sell it to hospitals like us that do lots of reconstructive heart surgery, right? And so I can take an artery with a valve out of the freezer, all right, that what did belong to a human at once. It's no longer living. We thaw it out, all right, and implant it into him. And I'll show you where. The other option, they look very similar, but this is a Contegra valve, all right? This is This is a valve that, this is, you know, you've heard of your jugular vein, right? Well, as you can imagine, a cow has got a very big jugular vein. This is a jugular vein from a cow, and the other thing about the jugular vein from a cow is it's got a beautiful valve in it. So what I want you to do is look in this, hold it up to the light, and when you look in there, you're going to sort of see a Mercedes-Benz. Those are 3 valve leaflets, all right?
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Yeah. Looks like a heart valve.
Right, that's exactly right. Well, it's good that you can say that. Most people would have no idea what a heart valve looked like. So, and these markers here show where it is in that tube.
Oh.
All right, so that's how I know when I'm cutting this tube in the operating room, know not to cut where the valve is. So, what we're going to do is either use a homograph or a contegrograph and sew it from the right ventricle. I actually make a cut in the front, an opening in the front of the right ventricle, and sew it. I can go on either side here. Most commonly, believe it or not, just because how the heart sits in the chest, we go to this side, but that will get sewn. So imagine this on the outside of the heart. All right? So that the blue blood will then come back, go through this, really just like, you know, building a bridge. All right, it's like a bridge outside. This connects to the heart. This end connects to the heart. This end out here connects to the pulmonary artery, and blood goes through it, called a conduit. You know, so his own internal pipeline, so to speak. All right. So by doing that, we will then have separated the blue blood from the red blood. All right, and you know, parents ask, well, is that hole going to get smaller? It can, but most of the time, as the heart grows, it grows with it. There's been maybe 3-4 kids in 24 years that I've had to go back and make that hole bigger down the line. Most of the time, as the heart grows, it just keeps growing. Now, that homograph or contegrograph that I put in, and as I mentioned, neither of them are living tissue, right? So they will not grow with him. I will need to replace that in the future. But the fact that you've gotten him to this size, the older he is, the bigger graft I can put in him. I can't put in an adult-sized, you know, artery in him at, you know, the age of 1.5 years, but I can get in a good enough size that he may be able to go 10 years with what I put in him. Whereas when you put these in as a newborn, they rarely go 5 years, right? So just by waiting till he's a little bit bigger, we've increased the longevity. Of course, the greater longevity, and I can't guarantee it because, you know, he's going to really his first hour and a half in the OR. It's not me doing surgery; it's them getting him ready. Right? Then I'll get going with surgery, incision up and down the middle of just through his old incision, reopen everything, and he's going to have scar tissue around his heart from the prior surgery. It's going to take me a fair bit of time to kind of get rid of scar tissue. And it's just normal human response to having surgery, right? Once we have all the scar tissue taken care of, I will put him on the heart-lung bypass machine, just like we did last time. When we go on the heart-lung machine, I will then get rid of this altogether. Well, I shouldn't say altogether. I'll leave the 2 little stumps there, because there's no reason I have to get rid of the stumps, but we'll kind of take out that whole middle section. I take that out so that it's not tethering things as he grows, because as he grows, this artery and this artery will get further apart from one another. Right? And then I'll proceed with doing the operation that we just talked about. Right? He'll be on the heart-lung bypass machine, so I'll put the heart to sleep. The rest of the body, brain, etc., will always be getting great blood flow, plenty of oxygen, all that kind of stuff. Okay. And this will take a fair bit of time to do. This will probably take 3.5, 4 hours to do all that. It's a lot of work in a small place. Putting the patch on the inside of the heart, of course, is a very meticulous thing. And anyway, once we have that all done, let the heart wake up, start doing all of its work again, come off the heart-lung machine, and the operation's over. Right? At the end of surgery, we will probably close him up right away. You do have to remember that we are putting a new artery into his chest that wasn't there before. So if things look too crowded and it looks like I'm going to close the chest and it's going to impinge on that blood vessel, then we would leave the chest open for just a couple days. It's amazing how things kind of shift out of the way a little bit in just a couple, 3 days. I don't think we're going to need to do that, but I just let you know that that's a possibility. All right. Otherwise, we'll put a drainage tube, 1 or 2 drainage tubes in the chest, close it up, close the skin up with dissolving stitches, steri strips, etc. And then, come out of the OR. What I expect with this surgery, my hope is that he'll be able to come off the breathing machine within a day or two of the surgery. Every kid's different, but I expect that it's going to go a little bit quicker than last time, if not a lot quicker. All right. For the first time in his life, his body is going to be getting, just red blood. The risks of surgery, it's a very big surgery, along the lines of what he had last time, but he's bigger and stronger now, so he's got an immune system and all those other kind of good things. So.